fear is the opposite of faith. This is why Jesus constantly dealt with people regarding faith. He constantly dealt with people. Okay, I'm not going to deal with you about your sin. How many times, y'all understand what I'm saying? How many times did people deal with them about their sin? For example, the woman that's caught, and they bring her before Jesus. And he says, he who was out sin, let him cast the first stone. He didn't deal with her sin. He didn't deal with her sin. He dealt with her faith. He said, now go. Okay, because what you do and what you did, what you're going to do don't surprise God. What you do, what you did, what you're going to do does not surprise God. So when God has called us to do something, he didn't bump his head and forget your inadequacies. When God gives us an assignment, he hasn't bumped his head and say, I didn't forget that you're not a good speaker, Moses. I didn't forget that. Gideon, mighty man of valor, I didn't forget that you was hiding. I didn't forget. But what happens is that with the assignment that God gives us, a lot of times, we allow fear to dictate what we do or don't do. Why did Gideon hide? He was afraid. Yes, you can still talk back to me. We good. He was afraid. Yes, it's fine. Talk back to me. It's fine. He allowed fear to make him go running. Who runs after a word from God? Abraham, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. Before that, he said, go into a land and I'm going to show you. Go. Now, on the way, Abraham goes and now he tries to hide his wife because he's afraid. Didn't God give him a promise? Now, watch this, though. But later on in the Bible, Abraham is a hero of faith. He becomes a hero. I'm coming to you, Elder Paul. He becomes a hero of faith because he doesn't allow fear to continue to paralyze him, Drew. He had an instance. Matter of fact, he had two. Okay? He had an instance where I'm not sure. But what happened is that God showed himself, God proved himself, and he built up his faith. You understand? That's why we got to go from glory, from faith. We got to get past the point of mustard seed faith. Mustard seed faith helped you then. We're going to need something more now. We got more stuff to do. This world is getting wicked. This world is getting wicked, and the Bible is fulfilling itself. People don't want God. Folk don't want God. You understand what I'm saying? There is very quietly, y'all remember the measure that they tried to pass in Houston? The mayor tried to pass the measure where the 5 preachers had to give over their notes. She didn't want them speaking. Oh, there's a measure that's on the table right here in your city. It'll probably pass here. Houston's a little bit more Bible Belt. Orlando, this is where they come. This is where they come. You understand what I'm saying? We hold days for them here. It'll probably pass here. What we going to do? What we going to do? We're going to be scared to say, all right, the city says that if you don't perform marriages for the LGBT community, we're going to shut you down. We're going to take away your licenses. Are we going to bend? Are we going to bow? Are we going to say, okay, fine, because we don't want to lose our little privileges. We like sour leeks and onions. It's going to take faith. It's going to take faith. We're going to have to stand in the midst of some adversity, the likes of which we have never seen before. We're going to have to stand and say, you know what? I'm not going to be budged. I understand your situation. I understand exactly where you are. Been there. Been there. And it's hard to stand when people are threatening your job. It's hard because that's your livelihood. But if we step out of fear and into faith and realize that the job was never your source, the job was your resource. God allowed you to get that job. You don't think he'll allow you to have another job? I'm telling you, there's been a couple of jobs that I quit because they wanted me to lie to the people and deceive the people. They wanted me to lie and tell the people that it is something when it was clearly not. I'm not going to lie. Okay? I understand sales and stuff like this. I understand that. You got to up-talk stuff. Talk it up. I understand. But I'm not finna lie myself. I want you to straight lie. I'm not going to lie. And if you're asking me to lie, then I'm going to tell you that's not what I'm going to do. Now, if you want to release me from this job, I want to let you know right now that I'll be at the unemployment compensation office tomorrow. And since I used to work there, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to pay me anyway. Y'all think I'm joking? The last job I had, I told them, I said, okay, do me a favor and fire me. Do me a favor and fire me. Because if y'all fire me for what y'all trying to fire me for, I promise you, y'all going to be paying me for the next 6 months. I promise you, you're going to be paying me for the next 6 months. I'm going to be on your payroll at home with my feet kicked up, sipping on Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Well, they had it good back when we was working there, didn't they? Good God Almighty. But I'm saying, the thing about it is that, and it wasn't so much that, my knowledge in that area, but I have faith regardless. You have to know that God going to take care of you. You don't have to know the particulars. You don't have to know the ins and outs and in-betweens. You have to know that if God said, I'm going to take care of you, if he got to invent a way, watch this here. God trusts me, and I don't use myself for an example to pat myself on the back. I use that so I don't talk about y'all, so y'all don't think I'm talking about you. Before we left for Europe, I had the promise of a job waiting for me when I came back. The promise of a job. Okay? And so we're there, and I'm so glad for a praying wife. I am so glad that she prays and she hears from God. And she says, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm sure. Positive. Because, yeah, But she had already seen it. We came back, y'all, and I got the surprise of a life. No job. No job waiting for me when I came back. No. Completely replaced. While I was over there. Did the search for somebody while I was over there. I ain't worried about it. They're going to get this. I ain't worried about it. You can't do the righteous wrong and then think you're going to flourish. I'm like, I hope you get everything you was wanting out of the situation. Hope you do. Because what you going to get for what you did, can't do somebody wrong like that. I'm telling you, I gave up a good situation on the hopes of this situation. But watch this here. It's funny to me that at the moment where I'm being advised that I don't have a job, I don't get down because my wife had already seen it, already had faith. God worked it out. I had a meeting to get let go on Friday. God worked it out Thursday night. I got another phone call. Thursday night, I got a phone call. My friend of mine said, I need somebody. And I said, well, I got something right now, but I got you in mind. If I come across somebody, I'll let you know. Thursday night, I got this call. Zelda, am I lying? I need somebody. So I'm sitting up there Friday morning. I'm sitting up there, and I'm laughing. This is funny. This is funny. Because I done put so much stock into what may have been. And now here come this situation. I get let go, and I'm like, I'll be good. You sure? You all right? Yeah. Well, we're going to do this here. We're going to pay you for the such and that. No, I don't need none of your money. Keep your money. Trust me, you're going to need it. Believe me, you're going to need the money. God going to take care of me. God going to take care of me. And he did. I'm talking about lost job Friday morning around 10 o'clock. New job Friday morning around 11 o'clock. Listen, when I called him too, I said, how hard did you pray that everything wouldn't work out? How hard did you pray? I was praying hard, Polk. I was praying. Well, I'm saying that's exactly how God will work things out for you. But listen, I haven't always been to that point. There would have been a time that I would have panicked. And I'll be real with y'all. That thing hurt me because we had put so much stock in it. We was hoping for all the good things that was going to come out of it. Oh, we're going to do this here. Oh, we're going to do that there. Oh, yeah. We put a whole bunch of stock in it. But I'm glad that God is who he is and does what he does. Because I'm just thinking, what if we had put all of our chips on the table and let everything go a little while longer and had absolutely nothing to fall back on? Can't put your trust in man. God will show you. You better depend on me. But he do that. I believe that God puts us in situations to increase our faith. To show you that there's no need for you to be afraid. It doesn't matter what you're up against or what you face. There's no need for you to be afraid. God got you. What is faith? Faith is what God says. Okay, and watch this here. I'm actually changing that. Nothing wrong with that. Abraham didn't have no Bible. Abraham didn't have no Bible. When God said, get up out your father's house and go into a land that I'm going to show you, he didn't have no Torah. All he had was a word from God. He knew he had heard from God. He knew God spoke. And so because God said it, he began to move. What has God said to you that you are sure he spoke to you that you haven't moved on yet? Because don't get me wrong, Abraham had it good in his daddy's house. He had it so good that it took caravans to move him. He had caravans to move him. It took caravans and he had them just to move. So he had it good in his daddy's house. Why would you leave this good situation for something that you don't even know? God didn't even say where he was going. He said, go into a land, I'm going to show you. But when we begin to act on faith and outside of fear, now, after some trials, Abraham is a hero of faith. Because I think that the reason why Abraham became a hero of faith because God kept showing up. God kept showing up. And he had his moments, but God always came through. You're going to have a son. There you go, trying to help the Lord out. But I'm just saying, y'all see, people, church folk don't like to hear stuff like this here. That had to increase his faith. The mess up increase his faith. Because guess what? No, he may have been afraid to try it with Sarah, but he wasn't afraid to try it with the handmaid, and guess what? It worked. He's still old. He's still old. He's past the point where he should be able to have children, but because of wait a minute now. Wait a minute. If she got pregnant, Sarah, girl, you better get ready, girl. But see, this is what you got to understand. And if you got something to say, Brother Pastor, chime right on there. This is what we have to understand. How did he get to that point to try it with Sarai? How did he get to that point? Because it worked before. Past the point where it should have worked. So God already let it happen before it. All right, so you need proof. Okay, here you go. She's pregnant. Now you're gonna have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with this for not trusting me the first time. But now you know. We wondering why. Yeah. we wondering why. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's some stuff that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives because we ain't trust God the first time. Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. I ain't going to lie. I got a divorce I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life because I ain't trust the Lord. All right, love my girls, but I'm going to deal with child support to their 18-year-old because I ain't trust the Lord. It is what it is, and I'm going to pay it too. Praise God. Amen. I was there when it happened. I'm sure of it. Okay? But this is what happens, is that we have things that we have to deal with because we didn't trust God the first time, but don't let that paralyze you. Don't let that disable you. If you didn't go and try it the first time, I dare you now to go and try it this time. We got to understand about Joshua. They're walking around the wall of Jericho. The first time, nothing happens. But God said the wall was going to fall. Second time. Third time. Fourth time, they're walking around the wall. This wall is still standing. God said that this wall was going to fall. It doesn't look like anything's going to happen. It doesn't look like anything's going to happen. 5, 6 times, it doesn't look like anything is going to happen. Fear would have kept the wall of Jericho up. If they would have been afraid to go back one more time. Go back one more time. It didn't work out for you the first time because that was not the time. It didn't work out the second time. That was not the time. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, it didn't work because that was not the time. It was the 7th time. That's the time that I've ordained. Go back. Because I said that the wall was coming down. God said, y'all going into the promised land. God said we're going. This wall is in my way. Wall, I don't know how, but I'm not going to be afraid of you. You're coming down. We're going to go into the promised land. They went back one more time. Guess what happened? But they had a word from God. And because God said, it happened. You had something? Because God said, it happened. What has God said to you? I'm saying this to you. What is your fear factor? Is it a fact or is it fiction? God has not given you the spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and a sound mind. What is it that we're going to operate in? Why are we scared? Why we scared? Yeah, y'all. Okay, it's January, mid-January. It's about that time. Getting close to that time. It's almost March. Getting close to that time. Around this time of the year, we start catching memories. I ain't gonna lie to you. Start catching memories of what happened in 2012. I ain't gonna lie. It happened. But guess what? I ain't afraid to try again. I ain't afraid. You wanna know why? I believe God. I believe God. Believe God in so much that, it didn't work out that time. It wasn't a part of his plan. I don't understand the ins and outs and in-betweens, the ways and the whys, but he's infinite in his wisdom. And sometimes when I look at what happened shortly thereafter, I can kind of see why it happened. That would have been bad timing. It really would have been. It would have been very, very, really bad timing. But God is infinite in his wisdom. Okay? I have proof, though, that God can do it. I have proof. Living, breathing, playing with toys all the time, proof that God can do it. If he did it before, he can do it again. Same God right now. Same God back then. We operate so much in fear, though. Fear be paralyzing us. What are we so scared of? I'm reminded of Zelda's post. The root word, everybody, raise your hand if you don't like excellence. Raise your hand if you do not like excellence. Everybody likes excellence. You want to go to a restaurant and have poor service, or do you want excellent service? Drew, would you rather play on a busted, disgusted snare or one that's done, made with maple wood, about the 13, you know what I'm saying? Which one you prefer? I don't know about you, Doc. I like the good stuff. Everybody likes excellence, right? Excellence requires more. Excellence means that I'm going to have to do more this time than I've ever done before. The root word of the word excellence is excel. A lot of times, and if it applies to you, then don't just say ouch. If the shoe fit, don't wear it. Take it off and put it at the altar. Let's get right. But we be afraid to excel. Because excellence is hard. I've never had to do that before. I've been able to get by. I'm going to tell y'all this story. I've been able to get by on what they call pure raw talent for a long time. Been able to get by with some things on pure raw talent for a long time until about the end of last year when I went to go apply for a show. And I got pure raw talent, but my voice hasn't been completely cultivated. I got what they call a gospel voice. Got a gospel voice. It's not really a quote-unquote show voice. So here I go, as pompous as the day, because I got pure, raw talent. I got this. Didn't warm up. Didn't practice. I think I had cereal for breakfast. Yeah, wrong thing. Did nothing in the way of preparation. God showed me. Zelda went in there. She hadn't done none of that stuff. She got it. I didn't. Yes, he did. He showed me. To whom much is given, much is required. Yeah, you talented, but are you talented for this level? Are you afraid to step out and do something on a higher level? I was afraid, Sandra, to let some people go. I was afraid because of what they would say to me. I was afraid of what they would do. And we do this all the time. Marcel, I hadn't the faintest clue of what they would say. But in my mind, They was going to be mad. They were going to be upset. They was going to cry, rant and rave, and put up nasty posts about me on Facebook. I had this all worked out in my head before I ever even set foot to do something. I had the whole situation played out. I know exactly how this is going to occur. I'm going to do what I got to do, and it's going to be nasty. It's going to be a terrible, terrible thing. Marcel went ahead and did it. It was nothing like I imagined. But this is what fear does. False evidence appearing real. That's an acronym, F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. It looks like it's going to be bad. It looks like God ain't going to do what he said. All the signs point to it's not going to happen. But if God said it, if God said it, it's going to come to pass. What's your fear factor? What's your fear factor? What's been holding, what's our fear factor? What's been holding us back? What's been prohibiting us from moving on to the next level? Sometimes it is hanging on to what we had. What we had was good enough. We talked about that this morning. That was fine. It was fine the way it was. Good. I like doing the, every month or every other month. I like doing that at the House Blues, but no offense to God, got so much greater than that. I seen it with my eyes. I seen it. I mean, I talked to Marcel about it. I mean, it was crazy. I'm standing in a theater with 4,000 people. Standing there. I don't know how I made it here. But can get stuck on what you did with 250 people. Don't get me wrong, I love it. Thank God. 250, 4,000. Guess what? I don't think God is finished there. I don't think he's nearly about finished there. And guess what? Not going to limit him to that either. Whatever he want to do, I'm available. And I'm not going to be scared, and I'm not going to be unprepared. Whatever he wants to do, God, you can do it. First of all, you can do it. Second of all, I'll allow you to do it. But we cannot let fear get in the way of what's next. The question to you this morning is, what is our fear factor? Can God? Let me answer the question. God can. Can God? God can. So if he said it, now unto him who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that work. What power is work? Is it fear or is it faith? Can God? But where's our faith? Okay? It's important that we understand faith, because if we understand faith, then we will dismiss fear. If we understand faith, we will dismiss fear. God's ability, not in question. He can. The question now becomes, are we going to allow him to do what he said? We should never again, after today, let fear override our faith. Because watch this here. It's going to creep up. Fear is going to always be a factor. But we have to let the fear factor become the fear factor fiction. What did God say? What did God say? What has God said to you? If he spoke it, shall he not bring it to pass? I want you to think about that for a few moments. If God said it, and you're sure that God said it, if God said it, and you're sure that God said it, what are we waiting on? Sign? We went on the prophet to come and say, the Lord has said. If God spoke it to you, if God promised it to you, you don't have to figure out the ins, the outs of why. God spoke to me in 2006. Man of God whispered in my ear, God's going to open up doors for you in Europe. And he said, you won't have to pay for it. God going to open up the door. Now, you got to be me. I'm sorry, 2008. You got to be me sitting there. I ain't got all this money for Europe. I don't know nobody over in Europe. How I'm going to get my music over there? Blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out, and God done already worked it out. No, don't you worry about how God going to do it. I still don't know how he did it. I'm being real. This picture right here, I still don't know how he did it. That one right there. I don't know how he did it. Don't know. I got a couple of manifestos, and I'm like, whew. God, you had to do that because I couldn't have did that. I don't have that much. Don't have that much money. But if God said it, he going to do it. What are you afraid of? What are we afraid of? When God speaks to you, it's time to start preparing for what he said. So if he has said to you, get ready to get up out your father's house, it's time to start packing. Time to start packing. All right, don't know where we're going, Lord. Don't know where we're going. But we're going somewhere. He will not withhold anything good from them that walk upright. So if it's being withheld, we either aren't upright or it isn't good. So if you know you've been walking upright and it's being withheld, it's not a good thing. But he's not going to promise you something that he's going to withhold. Maybe not now, but if he said you're going to get it, you're going to get that thing. Right? So it's time to start preparing for what God has. It's time to start preparing, Marcel. It's time to start preparing for what God has said. If you haven't begun already, Sandra, Elder Paul, everybody here, I don't call your name, talking to you. It's time to start preparing for what God has said. Begin to make preparations. Begin to move and gravitate towards that. You will not be able to take everybody with you. That's why at the foot, I'm getting ready to close, Marcel. You can do that. At the foot of the mountain, Abraham said, y'all wait here. He told the servants, y'all wait here because if you know what I'm being ready to go do, you're going to tell me not to do it. You're going to, don't kill your son. Don't kill your son. That's what the servant, come on now. Y'all don't think the servants would have told him not to try to kill his son? Absolutely. They would have told him, no, don't do that. That ain't God. God ain't going to tell you to kill your son. That ain't God. Can't take everybody with you. You can't take everybody with you. Right? Sometimes you have to begin to move by yourself on nothing but the word, a promise. God said it. If God said it, he going to bring it to pass. Abraham did not have to know the ins, the outs, in betweens. I was in a service this week, and they talked about the fact that the mountain that Abraham was on, the altitude was so high that a ram literally couldn't walk up that mountain. A ram doesn't have the capacity to go up that kind of altitude. It would die. So God had to make a way for the ram to be there. You understand? So watch this here. We be trying to figure out stuff. We be trying to put the pieces together. Okay, I need 3 Bible verses. No, God done spoke. You don't need no 3 Bible verses. Move. Move. God already spoke. What are we waiting for? Okay? And when fear begins to set in, when doubt begins to set in, because evil is going to always be present, dismiss it. Can God? God can. So let's not doubt. If it don't happen the first time, I dare you to go back another time. I dare you to go back another time. We haven't seen some of our promises come to pass yet. We haven't seen them come to pass yet. But I dare you to go back another time. Denied for a home loan. I dare you to go back for another time. Now, if you ain't worked towards getting your credit better now, okay. Let's be real. That's another topic for another time. Okay? But I dare you to go back another time and make preparation and give room for God to go ahead and do what he needs to do. No good thing will he withhold from those who walk. I know I've been walking uprightly. So it's either not a good thing or it's not a good time. I dare you go back, though, and try again for what he said. God is faithful. He is not fearful. And he hasn't given us a spirit of fear. So who did we get it from? Who did we get it from? It's not from God. If we're afraid of what God can do, if we're afraid of what God will do, God didn't give us that spirit. We have got to dismiss it. We have got to let it go. Some of us are scared to death. We're so scared we just gonna die. We're just gonna let me eat my cake. Because this is this has got to be it. I don't see anything else. Ain't nothing but a little bit of meal and oil. I don't see anything else. I don't even see how it goes. So I'm just gonna eat my cake and die. When God already spoke a word. Okay. Now I'm sorry. I went all up in here and doing all the stuff this morning and stuff. I guess I'm kind of sorry. But we just kind of flowed from class. We flowed into this. Didn't give you 86 scriptures and stuff like that. We just followed the leading of the Holy Spirit this morning. And I hope that you heard something, because listen, fear, I'm trying to tell you, fear is captivating. I don't know how it's captivating the church. Ain't nothing wrong with the body, so I was about to say the body of Christ is not. But fear is captivating the church. We're afraid of these measures that are being passed. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what's new. We can't be scared. It's not time to be scared. It's time to get in faith. Do we believe this Bible or not? If we're going to believe this Bible, and nobody going to make you believe this Bible. Nobody going to make you believe this Bible. It is your choice, your decision to believe what God has said. Nobody going to make you believe that. But if we're going to believe this Bible, let's take God at what he said. Let's take him at what he said. Stop being scared. As usual, as typical, this message came first to me. There's some things that I have been so deathly afraid of. And I'm not just even talking about material things. I'm not talking about like roller coasters or jumping out of planes. I'm not talking about that. Talk about rejection. Rejection almost stopped me from getting married. I'm so afraid, Pastor Joel, I was so afraid of being rejected that when I saw Zelda for the first time, I didn't even speak to her. And if it wasn't, I thank God, if it wasn't for the internet, I probably wouldn't have spoken to her because I could hide behind that. I'm not talking about in a phony, but I didn't have to look at her and I didn't have to face rejection because she could have said no. The woman looks that good and has that much going for herself, couldn't possibly want anything with me. And if I would have continued to let fear paralyze me, then we wouldn't even be married. People said that some things would happen and that stuff would go bad, blah, 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 stuff like that. Fear of all that happening could have kept us from getting married. What's your story? I'm just giving you some of mine to just get your mind there. What's your story? What has fear stopped you from doing before? But you know God has something for you. You know God has something for you. So let's stop letting fear. Drew, I'm sorry, Doc. I don't mean to call you out. I have to. I'm here this morning. I'm here with you, Doc. I'm here. You didn't receive tons of prophecies. And I'm not saying this to embarrass you. Y'all know I don't even really too much do this. I'm not saying this. You have received tons of prophecies. There is so much that God wants to do to, through, and for you. And I don't mean fear as in I'm not a man. I don't mean fear as in I'm a punk. But there's unknown territory for you. There's some things that you've never had to do before, that you've never had to see before, that you've never had to understand, comprehend, grasp, and take a hold of before, that I sense, and you can tell me if I'm lying, that I sense has been pausing you from getting to your full potential. Am I off? God says this morning, let go of the fear. The unknown is nothing for you to be afraid of. What you don't know, God has already seen and spoken from eternity. He's already worked out those big contracts and things that you've been promised. God's already worked all those details out. He's already worked all the details out. Now, guess what now? Guess what now? It's going to require work. You hear me? It's going to require some work because the walls of Jericho wasn't just going to fall down. They had to walk around them jokers 7 times, and that was a big wall, sir. Okay? So it's going to require some work. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Sweat, tears, time, frustration, arguments with your spouse, etc. It's going to take all of that. Okay? But God going to give you grace because he gave you a promise. He's going to give you strength because he gave you a promise, but he can't operate in your fear. That goes for anybody here. God can't operate in your fear. He only going to operate in our faith. What has God said to you? I hope that you have received something this morning. I hope that you've heard something to help you as it helped me to stop being so scary. Stop being so scary. Where this came from? We scary. Everybody standing. Please.